Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here to review Bloodlands, Season 1, Episode 3. So, in all honesty, there's certain shows that did seemingly have an impact on the channel. So, I'm just bringing them out and just kind of testing the waters. And I'm doing it in a much more briefer way. Plus, also, with how I was kind of doing this review anyways, like, it was just a one-off thing anyways, of episodes. So I thought I would just kind of keep going along with this. If it seems that people are continued interest in this, then by all means, let me know by the view. So, with that said, I'm kind of glad that I didn't give up on this show, because watching this third episode was really rather interesting. I would go on to see that Tom had gone on to shoot Adam in the last episode. And then in this episode, I would come to find that Tom is trying to figure out a way to get accusations away from him and on other people, in his case, his own superior, who is Jackie, hoping they would go on and figure enough collective evidence to point the finger at Jackie, and hoping that everybody will take this hook, line, and sinker. All while also eventually throughout this episode, we find Tori, the sergeant, and her own agenda of going on and being a part of a family of one of the missing people, and going on to have worn a disguise to have kidnapped Keenan, to have gone on and wanted to just kind of push the police to reopen this case again to figure out who Goliath really was. And we, throughout the episode, have Tom being helped out by Tori to further this investigation. And we have to have suspicions of whether or not that Tom is to be Goliath himself, which just makes this rather interesting, because there's only so very few people we can point this out of who could possibly be this Goliath character. So it just makes for a really interesting episode, I feel, and ultimately a thing that becomes rather enjoyable. Like, oh, okay, so Tom is just trying to point fingers at anyone else, so he could probably either get away with this, or that he can go on and eventually somewhere down the road explain to us his involvement of being part of Goliath's people or being Goliath himself. I have no idea. I haven't seen this in its completion, so we'll figure that out when we get there. So, yeah, I really thought that this show was actually like, wow, like, it's a good thing that I didn't give up on this, because I was trying to figure out what was going on in that second episode. And I always know that, like, the first episode does really well for anything, and then after that, that tends to just really drop off. And surprisingly enough, there was a decent amount of views on that even second episode, where I'm like, I don't know, like, maybe I can go on and hope for the best for this and just see where it goes and roll the dice. And I'm only doing one episode anyways, so we'll kind of see where this goes. So yeah, so if a lot of people go on and just really want me to do this, then by all means, we'll go on and we'll keep covering this at some points. I'm trying to go on and try to really dump in more content that I do on a normal day, just so that way I can see if I can kind of cover more ground, as well as also to cover some of this stuff that was actually impactful in the channel that I didn't completely get to. There's like shows that I didn't know had other seasons. There's shows that I didn't know were really impactful until too late, and then it's like, what can I do now? So yeah, so I'm just trying to uncover these things and just trying to, hopefully in a small capacity, try and do more of it at some point, to just kind of just find people's interests, as well as also I would come to find through YouTube's algorithm and what have you that stuff comes up. So like, I'm to be completely and honest. Ultimately, the whole YouTube telling me thing wasn't 100% the only reason why I was doing this. Um, but every time I would go on and see it somewhere uh, on my stuff to just be like, yeah, I probably should go back to that, right? And it was always like, yeah, I'll get back to it at some point. And and then here's where we are now to finally be like, yeah, I finally admit that like I'm gonna get to this now, or hope to keep getting to it because yeah. So let's go into this. So in a very cliff noting like way. So we come to find that Tom is to have gone on and been hiding, or is going to hide the gun in some forgotten barn, and then goes and makes his way to his police station and finds out that there's this woman, this random woman who had been abducted, and it was to have been the wrong one. We would then have Tom was like, okay, so obviously who we should be looking for is a woman that is very similar to that has some tie with Keenan's kidnapping. So obviously there are suspicions that maybe they should even have Keenan be arrested, so that way they would stop these kidnappings or abductions and what have you. But there isn't enough to go on. Tom at some point goes to this hospital and is to check on this Keenan kidnapping and to see if anybody had made their way there that is to fit a similar description of the woman who had gotten abducted that they had seen on the screen previously. And eventually the clerk would go on to tell Tom that there is to have been a specific doctor that is one of note of anything going on with Keenan, and Tom finds that rather suspicious. So Tom goes on and eventually has a dinner with Tori, and as he goes on to start talking to her, eventually he brings up the whole Adam Corey missing situation, and it leads Tom to get even more uneasy about Tori. So eventually he confronts her with it, lashes out on her to just be like, oh yeah, I know you're this girl, I know. So eventually we find out that Tori is to have been one of the people who had a family member, a priest, missing from before, forcing this whole Goliath case to come out, and pushing on to eventually start helping Tom in this investigation. So Tom goes on to eventually realize that, like, they have to assume that somebody in the precinct is working on this case as almost an inside man. So they only have three whole people to think that this is to be their guy, their man, what have you. So they go on and eventually start to rule out people. And since Tom is not wanting to go on and have himself be a person who is to be possibly this guy, he has to point out his own boss. So they start stacking the evidence to go on and say, well, there had been this whole box, this whole evidence box that was eventually tied into Jackie because of how familiar to Tom this whole box was. And further and further, there were even notes that tied Adam into meeting up with Jackie. So we have Tom tell Tori to put things into Jackie's caravan that is to make Jackie look bad. And by the end of the episode, they end up having to go on and comb through the caravan to see if possibly that Jackie is to have been the one to have possibly been this Goliath character. So ultimately arresting him by the end of the episode. So that's in a very Cliff Note fashion. What is going to happen? So if anything, now I'm gonna go back through and go a little bit, tiny bit more in depth about all this. Maybe way too in depth because kind of already explained and re-explained the whole episode. I really liked this. Like surprisingly, I was like, yeah, like this was to have gone on and been a show that I'm kind of sad that I slept on. But either way, I think it's about that time to say that it is spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time I'm going to spoil this show. Let me know in the comments below your real affection or love or enjoyment or whatever of this show. If it seems that a lot of people view this and a lot of people comment, a lot of people do any of the number of things, you don't have to like the buttons, any of those like button things, but you don't even have to comment either. Like just viewing would be good enough, I guess, to eventually tell me that I need to keep going into this. But either way, I'm just happy that I can go on and find just some piece of content that I feel may go on and have people actually watch, because I would go on to watch two pieces of content in one day and no one had real interest in it. So it's like, great! Like, it's good that I do a good chunk of effort to get a donut hole's worth of results, but, like, I knew eventually that would go on and at some point happen. Like, I know I would go on to have made poor decisions, uh, but feasibly, I'm to go on and just be grateful that people have subscribed to this channel, people have found these videos, regardless of how quickly they watch and unwatch them. That's fine, because at some point I will go on and hopefully find somebody somewhere. It seems that that's a thing. It seems that I'm going on and being able to eventually find some kind of viewership somewhere, and I appreciate it greatly. So, thank you for going on and being that person, for being more than just a viewer, for really helping out this channel, because I really would go on and need it. So, with that said, let's go in deep dive into this episode. Thank you for going on and watching this, because I know you may go on and just leave at this point if you haven't left earlier than that. Either way, let's go out of our way to say it's about that time to get into deep dish spoilers. So, and I apologize if I'm really reiterating anything that I've already said, because that tends to happen when I have gone on to kind of question what all I've said at some points. So, the beginning of this episode, spoilers everybody, is to have Tom make his way into a kind of broken down barn of a place. He's putting on gloves to hide this gun under these crab cages in this broken down barn. The next thing we see is Tom and McGovern making their way to Adam's place, Adam Corey's place. As McGovern is to be knocking on the door to no answer, which she finds out to be strange, because, like, she assumed that Adam would be here and he's not. So we'd find Tom, like, holding his hand on this wall, and he's just kind of in a state of anxiety. Yeah, I'm sure the stress is just getting to him. So McGovern is to turn to Tom and say, you know, it's kind of weird that he's not home. Do you think that maybe he's in trouble? Do you think maybe he fell? Do you think, like, could any number of things happen to him? And Tom is like, could be a possibility. So McGovern is like, do you think I should just break into the door and just kind of see if he's dropped somewhere? And Tom was like, yeah, go ahead. So McGovern breaks into the door. They start combing through the home, and as Tom looks around, he finds this meal that is prepped, and I'm kind of curious if Tom did that himself or Adam did. I don't remember the episode all that well from past, because I kind of combed through it, but I didn't exactly siphon through every minute to minute to recount everything. So Tom goes on and looks at this bookshelf, hoping to eventually have McGovern find this notebook. And eventually him going on and stating it's like, oh yeah, I touched that notebook when we were in the house before. So Tom then turns to McGovern like, hey, you find anything? No, you find anything? Well, if anything, we'll have to go on and we'll have to check if the hospitals enrolled him anywhere. But if anything, we should probably just treat this area like a crime scene. So now we have all these hazmat guys coming in, and they're circling around the area. So Tom goes on to find Corey's sister to have made her way, Adam Corey's sister, making her way to visit the house. Tom goes on and asks Adam's sister, like, hey, is it normal for him to go on and get visitors? And Corey used to say, the sister, Corey used to say no. Like, if anything, even me, like, I maybe arrive here once a week to just kind of help him with things. And Corey goes on and asks Tom, it's like, well, hey, can I go in? And Tom is like, no, you can't. This is technically a crime scene. And Corey looks at him and it's like, well, then I'm going to go on and I'm complaint to superiors. And Tom's like, go ahead and go. And eventually we'll come to find Corey makes her way with a number of kind of high-ranking officials on her side to go to Jackie to voice her complaints. So we cut to Tom getting on his own hazmat gear because he's going into the house to try to sway away anybody trying to figure him out. So we get to an avenue of these hazmat people going on and just swiping for DNA everywhere. And Tom makes his way to one of the guys, or one of the people who had gone on to find this notebook. Tom has mentioned about how he had touched the notebook when he was in the house before, and to just try to have them not figure him out. So they mention how within this notebook that there are pages conveniently missing of it, of recent things of what Adam was going to do. It's like, well, yeah, of course it is. But then we had come to turn to a picture frame that has a name on it, which is to be F.J. McField. And we'll go on and we'll make our way back to that, because eventually McGovern will go on to find that this name is to probably be an alias that Adam uses to try to go on and try to do more of an investigation on this case, or is to try to use this guy as an alias name. But anyways, moving on here. So Tom makes his way back to the police station, and Jackie is asking Tom what the update is on this case of Adams Corey's home. So they come to find out that there is a teacup that has DNA on it, has a fingerprint, and they're going to go on and run that down to see what they get from that. At some point, Tom will get a call stating that the DNA of the teacup will go on and match the same DNA of whoever was to have gone on and kidnapped Keenan. So Tom makes his way into the office to watch this videotape of this woman who had gotten abducted. So this woman with black hair is to have mentioned that these two guys had kidnapped her, and when she had gotten into the van, they had gone on to say, "Oh, that isn't her," and then they got rid of her. So Tom is to go on to realize that this woman that had been abused and abducted, or kidnapped, must have been a person who had been tied to Keenan's kidnapping as far as the way she looked. So it seems that Keenan's men are looking for people that are to look just like this woman. And so, as Tom is to kind of be talking about this, they were going on and be like, well, like, so is it that we should probably go on and find Keenan, arrest him? And it's like, well, right now there's not enough to go on. So Tom makes his way to this hospital and this clerk, eventually going on and asking about him having this woman, 30s or 40s, average height, black hair, and having this traffic photo that probably can't tell much of who this person really is. Like, that maybe this face could possibly look familiar to this clerk. And this clerk is to go on and say no, but if anything, uh, for him asking about Keenan to have been enrolled in the hospital, there's to be a specific doctor, a surgeon, who is to have wanted to go on and want to get an update on Keenan. And so the clerk took note of that and was to tell Tom about that. And so Tom was like, oh, okay. So, and come to find out, that was none other than Tori herself to have wanted updates. So Tom found that to be interesting. So here's where Tom is to go into his car and find out about the update of the teacup. And then shortly thereafter that, he hangs up on that call, and then he calls Tori for them to have dinner together. So Tori and Tom are at this dinner, and Tom ends up asking Tori about, like, well, hey, were you ever married? And Tori's like, you want to just get to question me, and that must be the cop in you. And Tom is like, well, old habits die hard. I don't know. I just like to question people. So Tori is to say that she was to have been in college, and eventually she wanted to live a much more fun life. So she had gone on to create a trauma hospital in Syria, of all things. And Tom looks at that and it's like, man, it sounds like my daughter. Like, if anything, if my daughter would have gone on and went to Syria and did that, like, I would follow her anywhere. Like, I would definitely go on and be right next to her with plaster and everything that I could to help her. And so Thomas to say, it's like, well, yeah, like, I was a solo parent for the longest time, so if anything, I would go on and be very protective of my daughter. Like, I would go on and I would follow her to nightclubs and all kinds of things to try to protect her from any danger, which is kind of it's a nice parent for you. So Tori goes on, so Tom goes on and starts mentioning about his father, and Tori goes on to eventually ask Tom about what kind of cases he normally does in the police station. Tom goes on to mention that he kind of gets kind of a little bit of variety, but if anything, he starts talking about his case of Adam Corey and how this guy had gone missing. Tori had kind of had a spit take or a choke, and Tom found that to be very suspicious. Tori gets up and starts to leave, And as they come back, they leave from the dinner. Tom decides that he's going to go on and confront Tori right by her doorstep and eventually mention how, yeah, a lot of this is all convenient, that Tori had gone on to meet with Tom, the guy working on this case, and she's a surgeon, she's a doctor. And so further and further, Tom continues to confront Tori. It's like, were you the girl with the black wig? Were you the one to have gone on and to try to get information off of me about this case? Like, I trusted you, like I trust you with my daughter. And further and further, like, Tom is getting more and more upset. So Tori goes on to reveal that yes, she was a part of this kidnapping, that she was to have gone on and done this because of her father going missing and found dead. And so Tori was hoping that if she had gone on to kidnap a guy like Keenan, that eventually all this Goliath stuff would come back up and they'd have to be forced to reopen up this investigation, and they did. So there is some time here when the two of them are further and further talking where there probably is a temptation for Tom to turn in Tori, because it seems that she's not going to stop until this case is closed. And Tom is going on and telling Tori here, it's like, I don't think that this case is ever going to get closed. So if anything, you need to stop doing what you're doing because it's not helping. So, and Tom is just doing this just to protect Tori because it seems that he has some feelings for her, is what what it all kind of breaks down to in this whole dialogue here. And I'm very hugely like getting through a good chunk of dialogue here, cutting through a lot of this. So my apologies if it's really not close to word for word going on here. So I'm just trying to really just cut a lot through here just to get this done. So because Tom is telling Tori to like leave it alone, that's my final offer. So Tom goes outside and watches from the window as Tori is to, or Tom goes outside watching Tori from this window as she goes on and she moves away from it. Tori then goes on and makes her way to her mother, and her mother is I'm trying to find this here. I guess there is no name. I can't find it. So I'll just say Tori's mother because that'll be easier. So Tori makes her way to, I believe, what is to be this kind of old folks home, and Tori starts reading this letter to her mother. And after she goes on and starts reading it and finishes it, she gets to a point where she goes on and tells her mother, you know what, I can't go on and I can't read these letters anymore. Like, I can't do this anymore. Because, if anything, at this point, we're at to where we can no longer get anywhere further on this case. And Tori's mother is to go on and say, no, like, we have to go on and we have to find out who had killed your father. And Tori has to stand firm with her own mother to say, no, like things have not changed. Like I can't continue. And I have to stop. So her mother has to take that as an answer, forcibly. So here's where we then go on and have what looks like a police officers making their way through these boats, and they uncover Adam's oxygen tank, and then they unravel and uncover Adam's body that has kind of made its way ashore. So Tom is now driving his way, and he hears over the radio that Adam's body had been discovered, going on and describing him as a 70-year-old man, and so on and so forth, that matches Adam's description. So Tom makes his way to the location of Adam's body, and it's kind of really interesting that Jackie is to consistently point out to Tom and McGovern how it's like, yeah, you basically killed this man. You killed him. Because yeah, if Adam would not have gone on and gotten involved in this case, he would still be alive. But since Adam had gotten involved in this case, immediately the Goliath was to have gone on and killed him, which in this case is to have been Tom shooting him in the head. So they go on and they mention how, yeah, they think that this is Goliath, that Adam had suffered a gunshot to the head, and they're curious what they're to go on and do next. Jackie is to say that now that this has become a manhunt to try to figure out who is to have been Goliath, and to assume that all of this is directly related to all of it. So Jackie goes on to leave, and Tom ends up stating that they now need to look for witnesses and DNA and so they're trying to figure out something that could absolutely identify with a shadow of doubt Goliath. So now here we come to Jackie going to the office and having Adam Corey's sister making her way with all these officials to kind of just berate Jackie here. Jackie is just upset that they have yet to have any suspects of her brother's killer, and how it seems that Corey has no confidence that Jackie will find anybody who is to be the suspect of Adam's killer. And also talking about how what Jackie is doing is affecting the community. So after that, we have Tom making his way to the body of Adam to try and find what the coroner is going to find on this body. Immediately when Tom goes into the locker room to change into this this hazmatic-like suit, he would go on to find Jackie in there, and Thomas is just kind of close his eyes and be like, fuck, like, god dang it. So Tom goes in there with Jackie to be like, hey, I didn't think that you'd be in here. And Jackie's like, yeah, I have to be everywhere now. Like Jackie has to go on and make sure that this case ends up getting handled because of how much of a threat he was to have been given by Adam Corey's sister. So we now have Justin, the mortician, going on and explaining the body back to Tom and Jackie. Justin goes on to mention about how the gunshot was seemingly at a very close range, and he goes on to even show exactly where it was coming from. And Jackie's kind of upset because he points it right at his own head. So Tom asks Justin, like, well, hey, like, it seems that his legs were tied. And it's like, yeah, his legs were tied down, but eventually they somehow had gotten free, and that's how the body had got swept up to shore. So basically, to confirm Tom's mistakes. So, because, yeah, we'll show that one of the legs is just kind of something happened with the ankle. So now, as Jackie and Tom make their way through a hallway, Jackie ends up telling Tom that they're putting everything on finding Adam Corey's killer. And he wants to make sure that whoever this person is ends up being paraded out in the streets and is to basically be like the guy that they show as much as possible that, like, hey, yeah, like, they're really gonna make a thing out of this. So uh so now we go on and we have all these files. We have every single bit of evidence of anything coming from Adam's home to just scrape through. And there are boxes and boxes of everything. So here's where McGovern goes on and finds this frame that has all these medals on it and has the name of which that she pulls from of Frank McFeel's. And McGovern realizes that Adam had to have used Frank as some alias. So McGovern makes her way to Jackie and stops or starts talking about how names were flagged of Adam Corey after he was to go on and go missing. And Jackie is saying how we're going on and looking for Goliath himself at this point now. And I'm trying to figure out what they have to say. So, right here is when they figure out, Jackie does, that there has to be somebody inside the Force that has to probably be Goliath. And so if anything, they have to go on and realize that, like, it has to have been somebody that had been working on the case since 98. So they bring in a guy named Birdie, and they have him look up information to see who could be a police officer who was working during 98. And eventually a guy named Birdie will come back and will mention about how there are either so few guys that had transferred elsewhere, or have no connection to this investigation, but the only people that are left are to be Jackie, Tom, and Justin, who's to be the morgue guy. So like those are like a very short list of people. So it's kind of funny here how like by the end of this, Jackie is going on and telling both McGovern and Tom to get on this case, and then we cut right to Tom, who is at home with his daughter Izzy, and they're talking. It's like, yeah, it's not on the case. He's leaving for the day. So this conversation is a little bit interesting, but I'll kind of cut to the quick here. Of course I will, because I have to. Tom goes on and starts talking to Izzy, and the big pull from this whole conversation is Tom doesn't think that he's a good guy, and he's saying this because Izzy is to think, well, like, hey, like that Tori girl, like maybe the two of you are going to be perfect together, and Tom is like, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think I'm right for her, and Izzy's like, no, like you guys would be perfect for one another, and Tom was like, no, I don't think I'm a really good guy, and Izzy just finds this conversation to go very strange. So the next thing we see is that Tom is taking this this column and he's beating it. He's found uh, this kind of just thing that he's just taking out on as if this is like Jean-Claude's Kickboxer. Where he's finding this really long, structured piece and just beating it. Tom goes on and finds this this bridge, and underneath it, this this kind of thing for him to just kind of stand on and just kind of look out. So we now cut to Tori. Tori is going on and getting mailed to her some stuff of Adam's. And Tori is going on and looking through some of the letters. Tori is to have found a letter of Adam saying the reason why he had sent her these things. Because Adam was to have gone on and started to figure out who Goliath was. And hoping that Tori would go on and take all these things and hope to either figure this out herself or have this to be brought to somebody's attention who could ultimately go on to figure out who Goliath is. And Tori honestly brings it to the exact wrong person, because Tori goes on and she trusts Tom. And so Tori goes on and takes all these letters and all these things to Tom, and Tom is like, oh, okay, like, how many of these letters did you touch? Oh, okay, just these? All right, well, I'll take all these into evidence. So, okay, I'll just go on and I'll use this for my case. So here's where Birdie goes on and tells Tom, Jackie, and McGovern about how there's so very few people to be possible suspects. There's only 3. Jackie goes on and immediately says, well, it's not me. And so he just kind of like, yeah, it's not me. So it must either be Tom or Justin. Tom goes on and eventually goes back and confronts Jackie. It's like, well, hey, like, I feel that you're kind of a jerk, just kind of automatically ruling yourself out. And you're just kind of leaving me and Justin to just kind of be microscoped here, or to be pointed out as like, oh, it only could be the 2 of us. And I thought that I thought like all this was just kind of interesting. So here's where Tori goes on and calls Tom and lets him know about the whole letters thing. And so Tom is like, okay, I'll make my way there. to kind of get the letters. So uh, um so they're going on through these old files, and McGovern is to be like, man, like we should have gone on and we should have taken all these files and kind of modernized it. This probably would have been a lot faster. But it's like, oh well, like we didn't. So they start to go through these files and they start to look into Justin's files, and then eventually they turn into looking into uh, Jackie's files, and they find it weird that his files are actually to be redacted, and so McGovern is looking at it. It's like, hey, why is it that this file has been redacted? And Birdie's like, well, it had to have been some high-ranking official that had gone on to redact this file for some odd reason. So, and they're all just more and more just looking at Jackie. It's like, okay, his file is redacted. Why? And it's just making him more and more look suspicious. So, here's where they go on and they find this evidence box, and they find out that it's a very specific number 2421. Further and further, they start investigating that this is to be a post office box in town, and this post office box would lead to people be delivering evidence. And it'd be evidence, it'd be information, things that you might have as a keepsake. And eventually that specific number box was actually Jackie's box, to where everybody's like, ooh, Jackie. Ooh, yeah. So here is where Tom, right here and then, is to say, yeah, we have to investigate Jackie. Like, this has to be a thing. Like, now that we found this piece that could lend to the narrative of maybe this is Jackie, and McGovern is like, are you sure that we're going to do this? And Tom is like, yeah, we need to. So pushing on here. So we then have Tom making his way to Tori and talking about the letters or the documents. And so he collects all of them, he takes them, and again, Tori wants to go on and find who is the one who killed her father. But there is a problem that for Tori more and more getting involved in this, it could be kind of scary that she could go on and end up being a person killed or a victim of this, because Goliath could figure her out, if Tom is to not actually be Goliath himself. But anyways, so I'm trying to figure out where to go here. Uh, being honest. So let me pause here for 1 second. So Tom is talking to Tori, and he's kind of conflicted about who he thinks is to probably be a suspect of who could be Goliath. And he's thinking that it could destroy things. And Tori is going on and saying, like, well, hey, like, doing what you're doing, it's your job. Like, you have to go on, you have to do this investigation. You have to find out who it is. And Tom is telling Tori, it's like, but this could lead to me, like, needing to have this suspect be my own boss. And you could tell that Tom in this situation is very conflicted. So Tori is to say, it's like, well, hey, if this is your boss, and it seems that this guy could be the one, then let me help you. Let me go on and do things that you can to better find out ways to lean to Jackie and give more evidence to it possibly being more suspicion that it could be Jackie that could be the one. So Tom goes on to agree and then leaves. McGovern goes on to eventually question Justin, and here's where she goes on to ask how many people kind of look over his work, and people double and triple check it, so there's no way for him to look like he's manipulating things. So McGovern goes on to explain to Justin that they're going on and investigating Jackie, and Justin says that this is to be like the perfect kind of person to kind of go after. It makes sense. So we would have Jackie that finds Birdie and pulls him in and starts asking him about this case. Birdie kind of slowly but surely is kind of hesitant about really going on and saying to Jackie what it is they're actually doing, because Birdie has to actually be honest and say, eventually leading to, like, oh yeah, this is all the things we found up until this point, and all these are things leading to eventually us needing to investigation on you. And Jackie, of course, after finding that out, gets fairly upset of, obviously. So Jackie, after going on and finding that out, he's going to talk about this magical circle, and he just kind of storms off. So Tom gives a call to Tori, as Tori is going to plant evidence in this book, uh, to basically just make their way to this caravan. So as Jackie is driving off here, Jackie makes his way to his caravan as Tori is now leaving, and he makes a phone call. Jackie goes on to eventually talk to a woman, and he explains how things are dangerous right now and that he can handle Keaton, but if anything, he wants her to go on and to just kind of disappear, because if people are going to start looking into Jackie, that uh, that eventually they'll find her and things will just explode. So, or not explode, but she'll be hunted down if they find out anything about Jackie here. So, Tori meets up with Tom and explains how what she did is now done. And Tori goes on to ask Tom, it's like, well, hey, do you think this is going to lead to anything? And Tom is like, yeah, I think it will. And Tori is to try to understand that this could probably be difficult for Tom, and it was kind of difficult trying to figure out her father. And so the next thing we cut to is that there is to be this yellow envelope that was sent in, and Jackie himself opens up the yellow envelope, and it's a picture of his own caravan, and in the back of it, it says, "Search the caravan." Then all of a sudden, Tom ends up going into the office, and so now both McGovern and Tom are both there looking over Jackie as he was to have had this envelope, and Tom didn't see the envelope or see the picture, so he's like, okay, what did the picture say? So Jackie is hesitant about showing them that, and so Tom is like, no, show us what it said on the picture. So it said, "Search the caravan." And he's like, okay, let's search his caravan. So Jackie's going on and looking at the wall of evidence and trying to figure out how this is all at this point led to him and how it doesn't make any sense at this point. So so Jackie is eventually going on and lashing out at everybody, and eventually he doesn't understand how this is all pointed out to him at this point. So and how he's insulted about how people are pointing a finger at him as he walks off here. So as they go on and they start searching through the caravan, and Jackie and Tom and McGovern are watching off in the distance, they do go on and they do find this postcard or this picture. Eventually, that is to bring up the yellow the yellow thing from before from the pilot that was to tie into Goliath, and was also tying to Adam, kind of pointing out that he knew that Jackie was possibly Goliath, even though it actually was to have gone on and had Tori just kind of send this this letter to him, or send this letter through or to him to just be like, hey, let's point this out. Anyways, so now that they found this picture, they have nothing more to do than to accuse Jackie of being Goliath. So Tom goes on and reads Jackie his rights at the police station and tells Jackie to not make a scene as they make their way to this room for Jackie to be put into it as a cell. Like, it doesn't look like a normal cell. Like, I was assuming that it was like an interrogation room, because it doesn't exactly look like a cell to me, but I guess it might be a cell. So like, the last thing we see is that Tom is like looking through this kind of peephole, and this thing just starts to shut, and then we get to credits. So with that said, I'm gonna try to get that out of here so I can get this uploaded. And well, like, I'll go on and I'll do my other project and then kind of see where we're at with that, and then upload this as well as another project I hope to get done today. I have no idea. I'll kind of see where my time is, and I think I'm doing pretty good. I think I can go on and probably make that other project at least, and then put this out also. So it'll be cool. Like, it's been such a long time, except for like a few days ago, to do 2 projects in one day. Like, I used to go on when I started this channel, and I used to do like two videos a day, or every other day, or something like that. And like, that was kind of like a fun time to just kind of really try to get everything straight. But also, like, it would really just mess up my brain, because it'd just be like so much information all in one day. So it'd be interesting to see kind of how I process this, how I can just get through it, and if it'll not just really hurt me at the end of all this. I have no idea. So I'm just trying to see if I can get this stuff done. So goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.